Exchange cabinets for 20-pound LPG cylinders can be found at a variety of store types, so it would be best to spend some time determining their location if your program is not already familiar with them. When you arrive, let the manager or person in charge know you are there to do a survey to determine net weight compliance of full cylinders and to identify how much product consumers leave in the tank when they are returned. It is recommended that 2 inspectors participate, as you will be handling a number of full and empty cylinders. Be sure to follow all safety requirements and be sensitive to the business and their customers in choosing where to set up. Before doing any testing or weighing, find a suitable location and verify the accuracy of your scale. A Class 3 scale with a minimum 50-pound capacity is suitable for weighing full 20-pound cylinders. If the resolution on your scale is sufficient to 3 decimal places, it can also be used for the tare weights of the caps and labels. Otherwise, a secondary scale with a division to 3 decimal places will be needed for weighing the caps and labels. In addition to your scale, you will also need the following equipment when testing these cylinders: cotton rags, calculator, dry erase marker or sticky notes, worksheets, box cutter, tape for reapplying labels, and rejection tags. Once you have selected a location for your scale, aware that a windshield or some shelter from weather may be necessary for accurate results, begin the scale verification process. Use certified mass standards to conduct an increasing load test, with all test loads centered on the load receiving element. Start the test with the device on 0 and progress with increasing test loads to a maximum test load of at least 10% more than the gross weight of the packages to be tested. Use at least 3 different test loads of approximately equal value to test the device up to the maximum test load. Verify that the accuracy of the scale at each test load is within the stated tolerance. Conduct a decreasing load test with all test loads centered on the load receiving element. Use the same test loads in the increasing load test and start at the maximum test load. Remove the loads in reverse order of the increasing load test until all test loads are removed. Verify the accuracy of the scale at each test load. When conducting a shift test, use a test load equal to 1/3 of the maximum test load used for the increasing load test. Apply the test load as nearly as possible at the center of each quadrant of the load receiving element. Verify that the accuracy of the device at each test load is within the stated maintenance tolerances while comparing quadrants. Conduct the return to 0 test whenever all the test weights from the scale are removed. Check to ensure that it returns to a 0 indication. Now that you have verified the accuracy of your scale, identify the returned cylinders. We will refer to these as empty cylinders, even though there will be some amount of product remaining in them. You will use the empty returned cylinder form. Weigh the empty cylinder and record the gross weight on the worksheet. Find the stamped tare weight on the collar of the cylinder and record the results in that column on the worksheet. Calculate and record in column 3 the amount of product the consumer left in the cylinder by subtracting the stamped tare weight from the gross weight. Now we will test the full cylinders for net content. The inspector determines the lot size. Per NIST Handbook 133, Table 2-1 in Appendix A, Sampling Plans for Category A, the lot size selected will determine the sample size. If your lot is 12 cylinders or less, you will check all of them. If your lot size is more than 12 cylinders, you must randomly select your samples as described in Chapter 2 of NIST Handbook 133, checking the content of packaged goods, Section 2.3.4, Random Sample Selection. Number each cylinder in the sample using a non-permanent marker or sticky note. Carefully cut off the label and remove the cap from the first sample and weigh them on the 30-pound scale if the 50-pound scale does not have the appropriate resolution. Record this on the worksheet. Repeat this with sample 2 and record it on the worksheet. If the tare weights are the same, then use this value as the average tare weight. If the tare weights are different, Follow the procedures in Chapter 2 of NIST Handbook 133, Section 2.3.5.1, Determination of Tare Sample and Average Tare Weight, to determine if more tare samples need to be taken before determining the average tare weight. For each sample, record on the worksheet the labeled net weight, the gross weight of the cylinder, and the stamped tare weight of the cylinder. Once this information is recorded for all the samples, determine the package error. The adjusted gross weight takes the label and cap into account by subtracting it out, since the tare weight of the label and cap are not included in the stamped tare weight. The calculated net weight subtracts the tare weight of the cylinder, leaving the net weight of the product. The package error is the difference between the labeled net weight and the calculated net weight. Determine the total error and the average error. The sample must pass two requirements. First, the individual package requirement, which is also referred to as an unreasonable minus error, that exceeds the maximum allowable variation based on the sample size, which can also be found in NIST Handbook 133, Appendix A, in Table 2-5. If the sample fails, stop here. If no unreasonable minus errors are found, then go to Box 11 to determine compliance with the average error. If the average error is a positive number, then the lot passes. If the average error is a negative number, then calculate the sample error limit to determine compliance. While this data will be included in the survey, a jurisdiction is free to act on any failures while performing a net content inspection of full cylinders.